We got a pup date at the end of the video, so stick around at the end and you'll see this. I've got some dog news. What we're going to discuss now is far less cute and friendly, quite frankly, and that is that I'm sure you already know the news by now, but it's sort of the hot topic and something that I'm a little bit worried about. Aside from the obvious that it appears that Mohammed Kudus and Julen Lopetegui squared up to one another, or let me get this absolutely right. It was Mohammed Kudus squared up to Lopetegui, and some people, some teammates, some people in the West Ham dressing room at half-time against Brentford had to separate. And Brentford, we haven't dropped down that low in the leagues yet. It was revealed last night by ex-West Ham United employee. And I think he revealed it on his Patreon, but I mean, it was everywhere. By the time, half an hour later, by 10 o'clock last night, it was absolutely everywhere, this story. And it would appear, reading between the lines, and I've got to state, I don't know the facts here, I'm just telling you what I know, what I've heard and what I've read, is that Lopetegui was critical of, I think he may have dug Kudus out more than some of the other players. Kudus did not respond very well at all. Squared up to him, they had to be separated. Now, what I want to say on this is I think this sort of thing happens all the time. In every dressing room, everywhere. As I understand, something similar might have happened at Manchester United in the Tottenham game. And I just think when you've got 50, however many people in the squad, I was going to say 15, there's more in a matchday squad now, isn't there? But let's say, including coaches and everyone else, you've probably got 25 people in a dressing room shouting at each other, particularly when things aren't going well, shouting at each other, pointing fingers, competitive people, by the way, as well, winners. You are, I know it's hard to say, not every footballer's a winner and this, that, and the other, but you got to remember, it's not just about trophies, it's about being the best at your school, it's about being the best in the county, getting through trials, getting through the academy, becoming a professional footballer. Is hard. To do that, you've got to be highly competitive. So that you put all those people in a room together, a lot of alpha males in there probably, and you're going to get friction, you're going to get finger pointing, you're going to get people shouting at each other. I'd imagine just in the normal course of a half-time team talk, someone might say something, someone might say, well, hold on, you were out of position, what are you talking about? You weren't covering me there. I'd imagine all this stuff happens. Fisticuffs? Probably not, but high tensions. So that in itself, the fact that happens at West Ham would not concern me in the least. The thing that worries me more than anything is that it got out. Now, normally this sort of stuff, you hear about it. You ever been to after dinner talking? You ever been, you go and watch someone after they've retired? Former players, ex-players, and they'll sit down 20, 25 years later and they'll sit down and tell a story about what happened under certain circumstances. I've heard a couple of really funny ones about Billy Bonds, when Billy Bonds was manager, which have been told by people that were in the team at that time. Or sometimes you might hear about it or read about it in an autobiography, right? Only now do you get the big stuff gets out there, like David Beckham's boot, like whatever, Alex Ferguson throwing the boot or kicking the boot at David Beckham and it hitting in the eye and cutting the eye. That's David Beckham, superstardom. Normally the details come out years and years later because there's an etiquette, right? There's basically what goes in the dressing room stays in the dressing room. The information from within the confines of that very private area is sacrosanct, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, and the first one is just going to be tactical. A lot of secretive stuff is discussed in that dressing room, which you don't want the opposition on the other side of the corridor knowing. So immediately you have this etiquette, this gentleman's agreement, or just this self-preservation, which means what happens in here stays in here. So that's the first thing, it's going to be tactical. It's about winning games. The second reason is because it's a brotherhood. This is secret stuff. There's a lot of stuff goes on in there, and you know what? It's private business, and it's bad for teamwork. It's bad for morale. It's just bad for the team ethic. If people think that someone in this dressing room is going to start telling our secrets, and herein lies the biggest problem, and it's a massive problem for Julen Lopetegui. I mentioned a few days ago that I felt things had died down. we felt that after the draw, it wasn't the best result in the world. You might remember a couple of days ago I said the attention's going to turn to poor old Gary O'Neill now. So Sean Dyche had got himself out of a pickle. Lopetegui had given himself a week's grace to concentrate on the Ipswich game, whilst the media in particular focused on someone else's job security. That was good, right? That was good. And what is weird is the match was on Saturday. It's now, what is it, Tuesday now. It came out very late Monday night. Somebody wants that information out there. And I can only assume, and this is my assumption, this is my reading of the situation, they want it out there to undermine Lopetegui. Somebody out there, I suspect, didn't want Lopetegui to have this week's worth of grace. And I'm starting to get a little bit concerned that people want him out. It started last week, really, with the whole Tim Stighton stuff, and Tim Stighton separate himself from him, and it came out. I warned him. I warned David Sullivan. This is Tim Stighton. Tim Stighton warned David Sullivan not to appoint Lopetegui. Then there was the Fabrizio Romano stuff as well. This is just an extra layer on top of it, and it is. So there's somebody that's got it. There's basically someone's got it in for him. And I'm looking at it now, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure you can survive this. I don't mean you can't survive the falling out with a footballer. The squaring up to Kudus, that's survivable. It really is. But the fact that your stuff is basically you've got a rat in the dressing room. You've got a snitch. There's a snitch in the dressing room, and possibly somebody in upper management who doesn't like you as well. Now, and I think that's bad for West Ham. Put aside whether you want Lopetegui to stay, but maybe you don't. Maybe you don't like Lopetegui. I don't mean don't like him, but maybe you don't think as a manager he's very good. You don't think he can take us forward. So maybe you want him out, all right? So perhaps this you might look at this and think, hold on, this is a good thing. I want him out. He's no good. Just get rid. It's bad news for West Ham. Even if you're that way inclined and that's your thinking, this is bad news for West Ham. I said after Tony Cottee came out last week, didn't he, and said he didn't want Lopetegui at all. He wanted a young progressive manager. And I said after that, don't assume for a second that a young progressive manager walks into this environment and thrives. This is toxic. This is not good. And the very conditions that exist within the club that you might think have enabled West Ham to get rid of a crap manager in Lopetegui, I'm saying you, I know not everyone's hold. I'm just saying if this is your view, are exactly the same conditions that will make the next guy struggle. This is really, really bad. Just really bad. And I wanted to see if Lopetegui could do the job. I really do. I'm okay. I'm patient enough to give him the time. I mean, funny enough, I said this in a video yesterday, and even though I'd said it in a video, I think it's too early for Lopetegui's job to be coming under pressure. Someone said in the comments, I think you're going too early on this. I think you've got to give Lopetegui time. Yeah, I just said that. I would afford him the time. I would give him the time. But there's people at the club who are not prepared to do that. I think this is really going to be really tough for him. Really, really tough for him. As I say, it wasn't great. It wasn't great against Brentford, but it bought him a bit of time. The other problem you've got, and the other thing that might make this unsurvivable, is how good the player is that he's had a disagreement with. And I don't want to dig Kudus out here. I think Kudus is a match winner. I think Kudus should have been given a chance to play a couple of games in attacking midfield. So it's not that I think that Lopetegui is beyond criticism. I don't. I just think that it's just probably a bit of a tsunami of negativity about him that's going to be really difficult for him to overcome. I want to see Lopetegui be given a little chance to prove himself here. But I also want to see Mohammed Kudus play attacking midfield. it's going to be a little bit difficult now. It really is, because once it gets to this stage, it becomes a popularity contract, and everything is binary. Everything is binary these days. You hear very few things are nuanced that you hear, particularly internet-based. It's one or the other. So we're going to get division. You team Lopetegui or you team Kudus. This is going to be it. It's not going to be too much of the in-between. And that's going to make it really, really tough, because then it becomes a popularity contest. There's only one winner, which is Mohammed Kudus, because he was such a brilliant player, did so well for West Ham last season. And it will be viewed that he's been given... He's drawn the short straw, really, this season, hasn't he? He's the one that has to play out of position. And I think that's made people angry with Lopetegui anyway. You then get this, that Julen Lopetegui's picking on one of the West Ham favourites. It ain't good. It ain't good. It becomes a popularity contest. And basically, someone's walked into the middle of that dressing room, dropped a hand grenade and walked away, and basically just watching the fallout from it, really. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on it. Not great at all. It's going to run and run. There's going to be more, as I understand it, they've made up. I would expect that to happen. But I suspect this happens all the time. I would expect them to fall out and make up on the same day. Almost anyone, any manager, particularly competitive stuff. I'd imagine once the adrenaline drops down, this stuff happens all around, and Monday morning, everyone's friends again, right? That's probably not been enough for whoever within the club wants to ramp this up a bit and leak this news. Probably them, hold on, I don't want it to calm down. I want this story out there. We're going to get a clawback. We all know everything's fine, but whoever's leaked this story, make no mistake about it. This wasn't. We'll have damage limitation now, but the person that's leaked this story from the club, whoever's in that dressing room, didn't want damage limitation. They just wanted damage. I'm quite certain of that. You just would not leak this stuff otherwise. That's going to be really tough. He's going to be looking around that dressing room now, Lopetegui, thinking who can I trust. And not just Lopetegui. There's going to be people in that team. Maybe I'll chuck one at you straight away. Max Kilman. Max Kilman is going to be a convert to Lopetegui in that sense, because he's former captain at Wolves. He's going to have bought into everything he wants to do. There's going to be a few players there who are behind Lopetegui. Jared Bowen, for instance, has been made captain by Lopetegui. He is going to be loyal to him. Obviously, he's going to love David Moyes. I'm not saying anything different, but there'll be a number of players who can start to think through the squad. They're going to be looking around thinking, who's leaked this news? Which one of us? Which one of my teammates has done this? It's bad, really, really bad. Anyway, it's going to be interesting. Going to be an interesting few days. I actually thought about not even doing this video, but hey, the news is out there. The news has been out for, well, as I say, the best part of 12 hours now. So anyway, there you go. Right, pup date. That's it. That's West Ham for today. Basically, so as you know, we have a puppy on order. I've decided, as the name is going to be Zippy. He's a Labradoodle. I'm going and collecting him second week in November, because they have to stay with their mum and obviously all that stuff. So I just thought I'd give you a little update on what I think is a very, very cute clip. So basically, the little one barking is Zippy, and this is, as I understand it, I think everyone, like basically all his siblings are asleep. And I think he's just an hungry Horus, basically. His mum's going to walk in. His mum's just about to sit down and walk in. And I think he's giving it the old, milk, breakfast. And he's gone straight for it. A very cute clip anyway. And just thought, so many of you have always always get loads and loads of questions about the dog. What's going on with the dog? How's the dog? When you getting the dog? And all this stuff. So, I thought I'd share that update with you lovely people who are obviously also into their dogging. Anyway, I'll play the clip now. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.